Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Matt, and we talk about movies on this show. This episode is going to be about Glass, which is the concluding chapter of a trilogy that started with Unbreakable in 2000 and then continued 2 years ago with Split, kind of surprisingly. Which is kind of a spoiler almost, but at this point with Glass out, we kind of can't really hide it, so here we are. Here's the movie.
I had when Split came out, I wasn't like, oh, it's M. Night. Like I went and saw The Visit, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do that again. And then I heard Split was good, and then someone's like, yeah, but you got to stay through the credits because it's worth it. And that's the only time I've ever been like purposefully spoiled on a movie, and it made me want to see it more.
I mean, to be fair, I
So
don't think anyone was going, "Oh, M Night," when Split came
no,
out.
no, but he did have that resurgence after The Visit, and I'm not a huge fan of that one. Like,
Oh,
the
neither
movie
am
has
I. Like, I
major
mean,
problems.
it was. I mean, I never saw some of the films in the middle. I never saw Last Airbender. I never
Yeah.
saw After Earth. But like, I saw The Happening. It was garbage, and The Visit was better than that. I mean, I'll give it that much.
Yeah, the last movie of his I saw was Signs. So I still haven't seen Lady in the Water, which I need to do, mostly because of Bryce.
I mean, yeah, I
Um,
don't know if I'd say you need to. I mean, it's got a really good score. James Newton Howard's
yeah.
music's quite good, but
Um,
but you know,
but what came out? What came out after Lady in the Water? He was kind of,
Happening was next.
yeah. I skipped that one.
Yeah, it was Happening. I don't know. Was it straight to The Last Airbender after that? It might have been. Then
Yeah,
After Earth. Yeah, he had a good decade or so of just absolute stinker
yeah.
after stinker. And
So yeah, so when Split came out, I was just like, oh, okay, McAvoy's cool. I'm not gonna rush out. And
mm,
then, upon hearing that it's actually a really good movie, um, oh, and look, it ties to Unbreakable.
yeah.
I was not expecting that.
So we'll start spoiler free about Glass though, just to make that
Yeah.
clear. We'll warn you in the middle before we go into spoilers. But naturally, there's going to be some stuff from Glass and Unbreakable that'll come up before then. So
Hmm.
just warning for that. So yeah, just to put like the cards on the table here, I love Unbreakable. Unbreakable, I think is his best film. I think it's a damn near
It's
masterpiece.
and it's aged really well
Yeah, oh, it has.
because I hadn't watched it until, well, I had seen it when it initially came out, and I hadn't watched it again until Split came out.
Mm.
Because after Split, I was like, oh, I need to rewatch this. It's been forever. So, and it stands up. Like it's real good.
If anything, it's gotten better with age. Like
Yeah.
it's like every time I rewatch it, like I discover more things I like about it, and
Hmm.
it's almost like a perfect deconstruction of the superhero myth.
Hmm.
But it did it before superhero movies became
We're
the
doing
main
that.
thing. You know, like it did it. You know, like by the time it came out the same year as the first XMen. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Um,
And you could tell M. Night had something to say about superheroes. Like he wasn't just like this is before the craze, like you said, before
yeah,
X-Men. And he's like, oh, so they were still mainly confided to like kids shows and comic books.
yeah. I mean,
So,
yeah, I would say the craze didn't really start until the
no.
MCU, but like obviously you
No.
have that earlier phase of it where it was like Spider-Man trilogy and the X-Men
Hmm.
trilogy and whatever else was at the time. But you got a lot of stinkers at the time. That's when you got Catwoman, that's when you
Yeah.
got Daredevil, that's when you got Ghost Rider, all these things.
Yeah.
So it even predated that pretty much. You know, it was right
Hmm.
at the start of that. You know, before it hit.
Yeah.
So yeah, such a wonderful film. And then Split, well, I don't think it's as good. It's still a very interesting film. It's very well directed. You got McAvoy
Hmm.
playing all these different, personas. He does very good at that. He goes even one further in this one. There's scenes in Glass where he switches between personas every other line of dialogue, and
It's
you never question
amazing.
it. Everything works. You understand who he is for every single line, but it
Yeah.
changes through them.
So I've been aware of McAvoy since I think First Class. I don't think I saw too many movies before. Um, and I knew he wasn't American. I didn't know he was Scottish
What until
until
now?
yeah, until he was on SNL this past weekend.
Oh no, I
And
knew
I was
he was
like,
Scottish.
because every time I've ever seen him in a movie, he's doing something different. Like, so I was like, okay, he's from, England or, wherever. I had no idea his voice sounded like yours.
I mean, I saw him in a Scottish movie called Filth.
Hmm.
I was probably about 6, 7 years old now. He's like this alcoholic cop
It's
in
kind
that
of his
movie.
dad, Lieutenant, right? Like,
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of
yeah,
got that vibe to it. But so if you want to hear a Scottish accent in a performance, that's the only thing I can think of because
yeah.
he tends to
So
have other things, either
yeah,
whether it be
because
English or American, he tends to have other accents going.
yeah, because and then he, like you said, he effortlessly switches between the personas, especially in this one, where you're just like, how is this possible? And he does different things with his body,
Yeah,
like
he go,
he's
he
oh,
goes from British woman to young American boy to like
with a lisp,
yeah
with like a speech impediment,
to pro
like
American to gay art critic to like he
yeah,
goes through all these different things. I think there's at least one. There was at least one that was in Spanish as well. He switched languages
yeah,
at one point.
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
it's
he's
it's
just going
ridiculous.
crazy. But so yeah, so the premise of this, like the trailers, kind of make it simple. It doesn't start here necessarily. There's a little bit of stuff before then, but essentially the main premise of this film, again going by the trailers, is that David Dunn, which is Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable, he's
Mhm.
the hero, if you will. The villain from Split, we'll call him Kevin because that's his, the original
Yeah,
name.
his real name.
And of course, already there is Elijah Price from Unbreakable, Samuel L. Jackson, the villain. They all end
Mr.
up
Dunn.
in the same mental hospital, and this doctor's trying to prove to them that they're just all crazy, that there's no such thing as superpowers or superheroes or blah 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 blah. That's the thing. It doesn't actually start that way. There's some stuff before that where Bruce Willis is around and about doing things, and
Hmm.
Kevin's still on the loose after Split. There's still a little bit of that early on,
Yeah.
but that is the main gist of the film. And of course, there's twists and there's turns, there's reveals, there's things going on, and we'll get to all that stuff. But before we even talk about anything remotely spoilery, though, just did you like Glass? How did you feel? Because this is the thing. I was really excited because I love Unbreakable. I thought Split was really good, return to form. Reviews for this leading up to it weren't so hot. They
Yep.
kind of muted my expectations quite a bit. Where I was like, oh okay, I'm going to go in ready to be upset
Mhm.
and see how I come out.
Yeah, I like two-thirds of this movie, and then in Shyamalan fashion, it goes like there's off the rails, and then it's what Glass does, and I'm just, uh,
Do you know what's funny? I can't even necessarily say that I like two-thirds and then it went up. Like, I feel like I've come out of this film very mixed. There are some elements of
mhm,
this film that I love, some of which are
mhm.
even after the. I know, because I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about. When you say it goes off the rails, I know exactly what moment you're talking about.
mhm.
There's some stuff I love after that as well.
Yeah, me too, and that's what I say about,
Yeah.
and it's not in order. It's not like I love the first act, second act, and
Sure,
third
sure,
act.
okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, two-thirds. There's a decent movie if you cut out a third of it or change a third of it, and I don't know if this was always the plan. I don't know if he has changed direction, in the superhero movie as I've gotten bigger and bigger.
Maybe.
This was his kind of response to
I'm
that.
sure I saw an interview headline saying that the ending was
Yeah,
something he had in his mind since Unbreakable, which, I mean, that's whether or not you believe him is another,
yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just like, oof. And then the cinema experience for me on this one was a bit dodgy because the movie broke about 40 minutes in and nobody knew what was going on. And I was in the Dolby Theater, which is, super nice and fancy, big, nice, clear screen. Um, so the only way they can make it up is they give me a readmit pass to come see anything I want, but then they throw me into another screening, but it's already, you know, 20 minutes in. So I have to watch another 20 minutes that I've already seen and whatnot. And I'm just like, okay, so I'm starting to picking up on different things. And that's, I think, why, since I've seen it a time and a half almost now, like the things that stick out to me that drove me nuts definitely stick out. Uh,
Not the ideal to see a movie, no.
no,
Not
not
the
at
ideal way.
all.
So
Uh,
the opening sort of chunk, the opening 20-30 minutes,
uh,
is not bad, but I did have some problems with it in the sense that I felt it was missing some of the style that I associate with Unbreakable. Because this is the section that's mostly, like, obviously some stuff with Kevin, but this is the section where, okay, so David Dunn is actively being a hero or a vigilante, whatever you want to call it, and he's going around doing things. And
Green Guard.
he's got a bunch of names. Basically, the
Uh-huh.
press can't decide on a name for him, which I kind of liked. I like the idea that there's no like definitive name that they've stuck to.
Yeah,
It's just like, nah, there's the Overseer, Green Guard, Protector,
yeah,
all these different things.
yeah. It's real
And
fun.
I felt like the style was lacking in this section, where it felt like it didn't quite have the same visual pacing of Unbreakable. And I think it was sticking out to me that it felt kind of different in that sense. But it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was kind of making it feel a little bit less special. And I think what really accented this is two times in this movie, there's a flashback. There's one for him and there's one for the villain. There's a flashback to like 20 years ago, or in fact, in the villain's case, it's even longer. There's two problems I have with these flashbacks. One, they're actually deleted scenes from Unbreakable, which isn't a problem in and of itself, but the two problems I have is, one, seeing some footage from Unbreakable really points out how different visually the new film is, and then the other thing is that these deleted scenes have been on the DVDs for Unbreakable since like it came out in 2000 or maybe 2001 when the DVD came out. I've seen these scenes, so as soon as it cut to these scenes, I went, "Wait a minute, they're cheating here. You're cheating."
So you're talking about the talk, right, between the two characters, and then the pool scene.
Oh no, the pool scene is not a flash, not a deleted scene.
Because I haven't seen the deleted scenes from Unbreakable, so I wouldn't.
The two scenes, there's one where his son Justin, who's played by the same actor, which is cool because obviously he's aged a lot since then. Where he's lying in bed and Bruce Willis comes in and talks to him. That was a deleted scene. And then the other one was the flashback to young Elijah on the ride.
Oh, the Tilt-A-Whirl.
Yeah, that was something from Unbreakable that was cut.
Okay.
See in Unbreakable when you get the flashback where he's got a broken arm, that's how he breaks his arm for that scene.
Gotcha.
And it's not necessarily a problem because there's older movies that will sometimes pull this, and it's fine because I've never seen them, but it really stuck out to me in this one because I'm like, I've seen these scenes.
Yeah, so the one with Dunn and his son stuck out more to me
because Bruce Willis is obviously,
well,
not
just
old as
that. Yeah, not just that, but it looked different. The
color.
And then the one with Elijah, I thought that fit right in because it seemed like the colors were more vibrant and it was going for like a different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his got away with being different. I think the problem with the Bruce Willis one is that was the main bulk of Unbreakable, and that's the stuff that feels the most different in terms of a visual style to me. So that was kind of sticking out early on. So that was kind of rubbing me the wrong way a little bit. Although some of the showdown stuff was kind of fun and generally kind of good. But it's once they get to the hospital where the real movie kind of starts to unpack. And ultimately, I don't want to talk about plot really. I said as well. I don't want to talk about plot. I just wanted to mention, I mean, obviously McAvoy's still very good in this. Samuel L. Jackson, it feels like he slipped right back into Elijah Price. I didn't feel like he missed a beat.
That dude is so in the theater I got a trailer for Captain Marvel, and I'm like, we're getting 3 Marvel movies with him this year. Assuming he's in Endgame, right? He's gonna be Captain Marvel, and then he's in Far From Home.
Endgame's, funnily enough, the only assumption between the 3 of them, which is weird because you think that'd be the obvious one.
Yeah, and I'm like, and this was a part 20 years, you know what I mean? Like, he is actually really versatile, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, by the way, it's so, I was almost feeling old when they mentioned it's been 19 years, and I'm like, it actually has been 19 years, Jesus.
Yeah.
Took a long time to get to this.
In class when a friend of mine went to see it, and he was talking about how much he didn't like it. And he was telling me what was going on and why he didn't like. And I remember sitting in my high school class, and that made me feel even worse. So, I
mean, was I in high school yet? I don't think I was.
No,
I started high school.
I'm older than you, and I was just barely in high school.
Yeah, I didn't start high school for another year or so, I don't think, after this came out. So, I mean, I was a kid at the time. Funny enough, I'm probably not that different an age to his son in the movie. Yeah, the kid. I'm probably a very similar age to him. But yeah, so acting's very good. Bruce Willis, I was worried that he was going to phone things in because he's kind of had a bit of a rough patch of his career the last decade.
Yeah, because it's not like he hasn't before.
Yeah, and he's fine in the movie. Like, honestly, his character doesn't get as much to do as I think I was hoping, so he doesn't really get much of a chance to really shine as an actor either. But he doesn't drag anything down when he's on screen either. He's fine.
No.
He's. So
he's competent. Like, it's neither up nor down. He's
it's fine. So we got his son Justin back. Casey, who's played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who's kind of becoming a bit of a modern day Scream Queen. She was in Split. She was in The Witch. She's in a bunch of stuff.
Watching her here and looking at her and the scenes that she's involved. If we never get a Teen Titans movie with her as Raven, we've been robbed.
I could see that. I mean, it won't be too long before she's too old to do that. But yeah,
Yeah,
I see what you mean. Yeah, she's got a bit of a Raven vibe about her.
yeah.
So you got these cast members, and then you also got Elijah's mother's back, who is the same actress. Although, funnily enough,
Yeah, I read this too.
you read this. Yeah, she's actually younger
Yeah,
than Samuel L. Jackson, and she's playing his mother.
yeah,
And it was fine in the original because she was mostly in flashbacks to when he was a kid, so it made sense that you just aged her up when you saw her in present day. Because it was one scene at the end of Unbreakable where she was in
right,
present day, so it was like, okay, just put some old age makeup on her. It made
right.
sense to cast her because it was all flashbacks when he was a young boy. Now that it's the whole movie, and he's, I mean, to be fair, Samuel L. Jackson does look quite good for 71.
He's 71.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah, he is.
The man looks younger than his age, to be fair.
Yeah.
He looks very good for his age. But it is kind
He
of...
looks younger now than he did in Jurassic Park.
I don't know if
Like,
I agree with that, but...
like Mr. Arnold had some mileage.
that was 26 years ago, man. I don't think I'm willing to agree with
No,
this.
I'm gonna say it.
But yeah, so worth pointing that out. So I feel like it's more a case of they wanted to bring the same actress back rather than being believable to getting an older actress. If anything, if Elijah's meant to be the same age as Samuel L. Jackson, the real question is well, this
Oh,
woman has to be at least 90.
yeah,
She has
yeah,
to be at least 90.
yeah. I always thought that him and Bruce were about supposed to be the same age.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a little bit problematic. But I also with Glass, he's very fragile and it's a very painful life, and that puts some age on you.
Yeah. Well, I
So
think I think he can pass happily for 60. So if you're telling me she's
yeah,
80, I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
okay, fine, that's fine.
yeah, yeah,
So that's the bit. And then the other main character we have, of course, is the therapist herself, who's kind of trying to convince them of what they are.
yeah.
So,
Dr.
um,
Stable, which that name cracked me up.
yeah, do you know, I feel like it is impossible to talk about much more of this movie without spoilers. So just to kind of there's some nice messaging. There's a message at the end that I really like, and there's
Yeah,
some great motivations I think for some characters that we'll talk about in spoilers.
yeah.
But there is this twist out of nowhere towards the end.
Pete, I've never been more angry in my life because no, I don't want to say that because that sounds ridiculous. But
No, Batman v
after
Superman happened. Batman v Superman happened.
yes,
You can't say that.
yes. But after going through watching another 20 minutes, switching theaters, that
Yes.
whole brouhaha, to what this built to with the twist, if I had popcorn, I would have thrown it. Like that's how I reacted to it.
Yeah.
Which I guess if you want to evoke an emotional reaction out of the audience, I don't know if this is the one he was going for, but he got one from me.
Yeah. I think the worst part of it is that it does lead to some messaging that I really like. I just wish they'd
Yeah,
seeded the reveal better because
exactly.
it felt like it
Yeah,
just came out. I mean, so let's just get into it. So spoilers
yeah.
then. Spoilers for Glass from here on out. So my thing is, right, so at the end of the film, we'll rewind and talk about how we got here, but towards the end of the film, there's like the SWAT team starts showing up because obviously Bruce Willis or sorry, David Dunn and Kevin are about to fight
The
as
Horde.
the Horde
Yeah,
and the overseer,
the
if you want to call that.
overseer.
They're
Yeah,
having this big standoff, they're fighting, they're throwing each other into vans and things are flipping, bars are
yeah,
bending, chaos is happening.
yeah.
And
Wonderful things are happening, and by wonderful I mean they incite wonder, and you're like,
yes.
this is like people are seeing this now, like,
Yeah.
because you had the Horde had kidnapped two of these orderlies and thrown them into the van, and he's gonna
Yeah.
take off with them.
Which actually, I mean,
You know,
this is a perfect time to talk about Elijah Price's motivation. I actually
yeah,
loved that his motivation, partly because it links. Because if you go back to Unbreakable, his
mhm,
motivation in that film was that he wanted to prove to himself and to someone else that people like him exist. So that's why he
right,
wanted to find David Dunn. He wanted to find the special person at the other end of the scale to prove that superheroes and villains exist. This film, his motivation is that he wants to prove to everyone that superheroes and
right,
villains exist. So he actually is engineering a showdown. He wants a showdown in front of the public
yeah,
so that everyone will see that these people are real. And I love that as a motivation. And even though he's a villain and he kills people, he's killed lots of people already, but you see him slit a guy's throat in
yeah.
this one. He's an awful person. His motivation is bizarrely kind of sympathetic. He wants people to
It's
believe
very
that,
noble.
yeah,
It's Yeah, it's
yeah,
not about him. It's about everybody knowing that you're not alone. That
yeah.
if you are special, there are other people like you, and don't be afraid. to come out of the shadows.
Yeah, there's a very sympathetic, if not sympathetic, a very empathetic motivation in there that you can kind of hold on to, and it makes him a really interesting character. It makes his goal for the movie kind of, like, yeah, you kind of want them to prove it, like, just do it in front of people, show them that this can be real. And so when this SWAT team showed up, there was like a sniper, right? And I noticed a tattoo on his wrist, right? Just the camera was just going past him. I was like, oh, that's a little clover or
and
something.
And it lingers like a half, like, not even enough, but I noticed it too.
It's just enough to register as a little, like, clover tattoo on his wrist, and I thought nothing. I just thought, oh, hey, there's a clover tattoo on his wrist, whatever. It's not actually a clover; it's like 3 little things that connect, but it looks like a clover and go past him. And, like, 30 seconds, a minute later, we have this twist where it turns out the psychiatrist is part of, like, a secret society that is. Their entire purpose, they're not bad guys, as she puts it. She says, no, our purpose is to make sure the world never knows that people like you exist, whether you're good or evil, because if there's good people like you, the evil ones have to exist. So we keep things calm and balanced by making sure none of you ever, gain, fame, making sure that no one ever knows you exist so it doesn't spread to more people. So her goal, the humane goal, because when we see her with the rest of her like, members, right? She's like, no, the best way to combat this is to convince them that they're crazy and it's not real, rather than just killing people, because that raises questions. So that's why she's been attempting this.
Right.
So it's kind of noble in a sense that she doesn't want to just kill them, I guess.
Yeah, but I still, like, when I have a secret society, and I'm well versed in comic books, you would think that they would try to weaponize these people, right? Not shut them down. You have this society that finds them and locks them in a nut house and designs complete, like, cages for them. I mean,
here's the thing, man. I actually don't mind what they do. What they do, I like, because it speaks to the themes of the movie that I really like. This idea that they're trying to keep it hidden, and Price's motivation is to make sure the world knows, right? It actually felt very Watchmen to me, the ending, in the way that
that's where I was going to get to.
The information kind of gets out anyway. So I like that.
Because he's very much Ozymandias there.
Yeah.
He's like, because we get to that point, we're in the spoilers, so where basically he has the speech where, what do you mean I can't do it? It already happened an hour ago. It's along those lines. And again, this was a deconstruction of superheroes, right? It started with Unbreakable. And it's very much like Watchmen in that way too, to where things are kind of very mundane, but there are these outliers that exist.
Because I think for me, the actual what they do is fine. I actually like it because it leads to what the themes of the movie are and what the ultimate goal of the characters are. Especially when Samuel Jackson, as he's dying, because this is the thing, all of them die. All 3 main characters die. And I expected Price to die for sure, but I wasn't expecting them all to die. But Price is dying, and he says to his mother, "This is an origin story. That's what it always was." And that line, because this is before the twist, and I got kind of hyped at that line because I was like, "Oh man!" Like it's almost like, because I was thinking of him almost as like a what you call him, Hunter Zolomon, where his entire goal is to make David the best hero he can be. So he only wants to pit him against the Horde because he wants David to become this hero. You're wasting.
That's what I thought the movie was. Is him manipulating this, because he even has a line where he's like, "You've been fighting 2-bit thugs, and like." You're destined for greater things, David. And this is the greater thing. And I love how he appeals to that.
And I was into that idea. And then we have this twist that it's revealed. I like how it's revealed because it's how David found out things in the first movie. It's he touches her for the first time and he gets the flash of what the evil thing that she's done. And then it reveals the tattoo on her wrist as she takes her hand away. And I went, you introduced this tattoo a minute ago. Like, literally a minute ago. You didn't, like, plant seeds for this earlier on in the film. And if they did, I missed them, because there was nothing sticking out to me.
Having seen it
here we go.
1.5 times, there was nothing missed. Unless he was doing sleight of hand, Shyamalan, and, like, going out of his way to hide it, I did not pick up on anything.
Yeah. I started groaning immediately, and then this scene concludes with them drowning David in a puddle, and David's killed. Obviously, the Horde is shot, and while I kind of half expected David to die at the end of this, I didn't think it would be like this. I thought he would die heroically. I thought he would die doing something great. Because he's an older character now, right? I thought it made sense that he might die at the end.
I figured it would be he dies inspiring, right? And he's still...
Or even... he dies taking out the Horde, and the idea that balance is maintained because both of them are
it's
gone
restored.
now.
Yeah. It's kind of like Superman Doomsday.
Yeah.
In that way, and so for him to be drowned in a puddle by a faceless person,
but by a faceless person who we've just been introduced to this idea that this whole group is just introduced seconds before they kill the main character that we like.
Yeah.
And
it's the worst kind of Shyamalan twist.
It's just it's so hard to swallow. It's so hard to. I mean, it's hard to swallow for David for sure, but it's definitely hard for us to swallow too.
Yeah.
And it put me in a really bad mood. I was sitting there in the theater going, "Oh, I think I hate this. Oh, Shyamalan, what have you just done?" And this is where I say it gets conflicting because 5 minutes later, when it goes to the real end game, where the therapist is in the comic book shop and there's two nerds arguing about, oh no, but Mr. Mind's a genius. Like, you think that's the real plan, but there's always another real plan that he's had going the entire time. And she stops and freaks out and then realizes, wait, what has he done? Was he so smart as a supervillain that he outsmarted me? And they set up her in the film that she set up a bunch of cameras so they could keep an eye on him. He sent all this footage of everything they did, because that was the other thing. During all the final fight stuff, it kept, every so often it would cut to a security camera feed of like them doing superheroics, of David bending a bar or flipping the truck or whatever. It was all these things, and it turns out he sent it not only to his mother but also to Justin or Joseph, sorry, the son. And Casey, and they actually all meet up. And I do like the touch that they all meet up at a train station, because that harkens back to Unbreakable.
Started.
Yeah. And it's like, because again, if you go back to Unbreakable, when David realizes that he does have powers, and he says, "What do I do now?" He says, "Go to somewhere public, and the rest will come easy," or something like that. And he goes to a train station because it's like, people constantly moving around. It's always busy.
Yeah, it's a place of arrivals and departures, right? And like, it's where things begin and end.
And plus, it ties into the whole. It started with a train crash. It started with that.
Right.
And it's them, and they're just watching as people see footage, and it's the idea that maybe people seeing this will believe in themselves, because the speech from Elijah they sent to his mother, and presumably all three of them, is that people can be superheroes. We just have to believe that each other can be superheroes. We have to believe in each other. We have to believe in ourselves. And I'm like, for as villainous as he's been, this is a really heartfelt message that he's kind of delivering at the end. And it's and I got this kind of thing where I'm like, if this was the point of this trilogy, it was to believe that we can be better than we are and not to think of ourselves as weak, then this is actually kind of touching. And I was actually almost tearing up during this final little speech.
Yeah, it got dusty too.
It's just upsetting that it comes from this twist that actually made me angry when they introduced it.
Yeah.
I got really...
Because I feel like you don't even need the secret society, because there's this whole thread of doubt.
Yeah,
even on the Doctor's part throughout. You know what I mean?
Agree, Like,
the movie would still work if you didn't have the secret society trying to keep them down.
It actually would. You're right. It actually would. It didn't need the secret society, because she's trying to convince them the whole movie that they're not, and even David starts to question, am I not really, like, is this just me in my head? Even Joseph, he's at like a youth centre, and he looks over and there's a guy lifting weights, and it's a lot of weights, and he's like, was it actually that special what my dad did? Even though he's not built like this big, truck.
Well, because even he tells him, he goes, Joe, there are people that at the gym that lift more than that every day. I'm sure you saw what you saw. And I like that. I like that there's a seed of doubt going through, because at this point, this is the third movie, and like, we've seen the Beast do things, bend the bars and stuff, and then the Doctor even explains that away, like, oh well, they were really old, and it was easy to bend, and
she was able to bend one with just like a simple tool, like it wasn't even that hard for her.
And so it started putting doubt in my mind, and I've seen all these movies, right? Like, well, maybe this is the actual twist, is they believe in themselves enough that they do become superheroes, and they end up, that's to a lesser extent or to a bigger extent, that's what it became.
Yeah, so I really like the final message, and all you had to do was like the idea that she kind of sees something and doesn't quite believe it, but Elijah still leaked the footage and it still goes out there and people begin to believe it. Like, you could have done that. You could have had that still happen,
and you even have that sense of chaos that they're like, well, now what we saw, what three people that are like this can do, what's going to become of the whole world, and that's still there. Yeah,
it's almost like it'll trigger more people to, like, activate almost in like a, not quite a mutant, it's maybe more inhuman actually. It's like a activation of belief of powers and things. I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of like what Heroes was hitting at in that first season with the eclipse, and like it's human understanding hitting its peak, You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah, and obviously there's the other twist, which I think everyone kind of figured out in the last movie anyway, but they sort of got to it in this one, which is that Kevin's dad was on the same train as David, and the train
yeah.
crash created both of them.
So
Um,
was that in Split? Because I forget, because I hadn't seen
no,
it
it
since.
was never brought up in Split, but we knew he died in a
Okay,
train crash, and a lot of people just kind
right.
of assumed, wait a minute, given his age, this would have been about, Unbreakable time. So
Gotcha. Okay.
it was a natural leap a lot of people made, and because I certainly thought it when I was watching Split, and then so here I actually kind of like how they revealed it because you see his dad on the
Yeah.
train, and I actually like recognize they have like an out of focus like woman walking down the aisle of the train
Yeah.
with the blue top on, and I went, oh, that's the woman that goes up and speaks to David, and the camera goes past a chair, and then you
And
see David,
yeah.
and it's this footage from Unbreakable at that point, and
Well,
I'm like, okay,
I
neat trick.
I like the reveal with the son when the son puts in, Kevin's real name, and then finds his dad, and then looks up the dad,
Yeah.
and the look of horror that goes over his face. I love that reveal. Just because he's made the connection.
And in a weird way, it makes him oddly like related to Kevin because
Hmm.
both of their dads were on that train. Just his dad magically survived,
Survived.
and his didn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like the dichotomy there. There are some pacing issues. There's definitely a weird structure
Big
to the
time.
movie. Uh,
Yeah.
like I say, the style feels kind of. Do you know what the funny is I think there is definitely scenes where I like how it's shot. There's definitely scenes where I like the style, but then there's other scenes
Yeah.
where I feel like I'm just watching a TV show, and I don't know if
Yeah.
this was because the budget was quite low and they were having to do some things quickly, so it maybe had to pick and choose what scenes got more attention because they didn't have time to
Hmm.
give every scene the same amount of time and attention they would have wanted to. Because I think Shyamalan self-funded this, and it was a $20 million movie, and it seems like it's doing quite well financially, enough to justify that investment. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that a low-budget movie can do this, regardless of what I feel about it.
Yeah.
It's really weird because I'm not angry because there's enough in here that I really like, but at the same time, it's easily the weakest of the three movies, and it has a lot of problems.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that twist really took a lot of the steam out for me, and some of the other stuff with David early on, I'm just like, I felt like it was just going through the motions of things.
That's exactly
You know, like
that's the phrase I'd
yeah,
use for the first 20 minutes, where it felt like
yeah,
Shyamalan wasn't actually that interested in him being an active superhero.
yeah,
He just had to do it. In fact, can we talk
yeah.
about maybe the worst scene in the movie?
Which is
The cameo, the Shyamalan
uh,
cameo. Can we
yeah,
talk about this? Now, I've never minded him having a cameo. It's fine if it's just like a
no,
whatever. This scene stops dead so he can talk to Bruce Willis for 5 minutes, and even brings up, "Hey, did you used to work at the because he had a cameo in the
stadium.
first movie at the football stadium. He had a
Oh,
cameo where Bruce Willis had to search him." And even as the lies like, "Oh yeah, I used to run with the bad crowd back then, but I turned things around." And I'm like,
yeah.
this literally lasted like 90 seconds of him talking, and I'm like, just no.
And he was in Split too, and I think he's supposed to be the same character
Uh,
because he was buying security
yeah,
equipment, and I think he was a security guard in Split. So
yeah, that's fine. I don't mind him being in
yeah,
the store. I don't mind him buying something and leaving,
yeah.
but
But the full exposition of I'm
yeah,
not that person anymore. I don't think a lot of people were going to pick up that he was supposed to be the same guy,
yeah.
you know.
It,
And if they did, cool, it's a bonus.
I mean,
But
I caught what he was saying because I've seen Unbreakable a great number of times. I know that movie backwards
yeah,
and forwards, but like it stopped the movie dead, and it felt so obnoxious to him for him to have this
yeah,
extended cameo.
yeah,
So I don't know, and yeah, that's but yeah. So the first 20 minutes goes through the motions. The horde has kidnapped like 4 cheerleaders,
yeah.
which I kind of like how over the top that
He's
is.
up to, well, it's so comic book, right?
Yeah,
Like, and even the rescue scene, like him and Dunn and his son have narrowed it down. Because I love that Joseph's become like
the guy in the chair.
Watchtower. Yeah, and I like that. Like he's as Alfred and whatnot, and they've narrowed it down to where he could be.
Or
And
as the CW shows have started calling it, he's the quarterback. He's quarterbacking.
okay,
That's
that's fine.
what they've started calling it.
Yeah,
So
I mean it's not entirely true, but well, I won't go there with
whatever.
the sports analogies.
It's
Yeah,
yeah. I don't care. I don't need to know. I don't need to know
I
how
I
inaccurate
know.
that is. It's fine.
Yeah, but anyways, quarterback's not always on the sideline. I'm just saying. Uh, um, anyways, I like that they're doing that, and then he rushes in there, and they get the first interaction between the two. And when we've seen the Beast toss people around, and David holds his ground,
Yeah.
and then that even like snaps the Beast. Like he's like, well, what's this? No one's been, this is not possible.
Yeah, he's kind of obsessed with them from that point. I think when I talk about how it's kind of phoning some stuff in, there's some moments of this that are really, really great, but there's some other moments between the two of them that felt a bit cheesy in a way that Unbreakable never did, or even Split usually never did. I'm thinking that the moment where they see each other when the doors are open in the cells, I thought that was really overplayed for some reason.
It's even worse the second time, because that was
Really?
only seen this out twice,
Okay.
and it's coming, and it feels so much longer the second time. So it's very long and drawn out. I do like how they each have a weakness, right?
Yeah.
Now remind me about Split. Was Flashes a thing that interrupted him in the movie?
I
Split?
can't remember. I've only seen Split once. I can't remember.
Okay, dang it. I'll have to. I wanted to watch it again before this, but I didn't have any time. Because I really did enjoy Split. Like I came out of that movie like
I like Split a lot.
But like I like how they each have a weakness, and like for David it's water, but for the Horde, the Flashes like interrupt the because Hedwig, the little boy character, says he's always talking about the light, and they each get turns on the light, and the Flash interrupts that.
Actually,
and it brings another personality ahead.
I wanted to mention probably the funniest line in the movie. Is when
was it crying?
No, it's when Casey's let to see him. Right, the therapist lets Casey come in and see him, and she's talking to Kevin, and Kevin, not Kevin, so she's talking to Hedwig, right? And Hedwig's like, "Oh, we're boyfriend girlfriend. Oh, we're doing very well. Oh," and he's like, "Can I speak to Kevin now?" He's like, "Okay, fine." And Kevin speaks to her for a little bit, and it's kind of an emotional scene. She ends up holding his hand, and then it switches back to Hedwig, and he looks down at the hand and goes, "Do you like Kevin now?"
Yeah. Yeah, his Hedwig character is so, like, he's a little terror, but he's so entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, because him constantly running and trying to set off the Flashes, because he's gonna try to get out of the room, but he keeps resetting him, and he keeps getting mad, and just McAvoy being able to switch through, so good.
Yeah, no, he's really good. I like some small details, like the school that Casey goes to is the same school that Joseph went to, because they're in the same city. It's not that much of a stretch that they ended up at the same school.
Yeah.
So no, I like that. I like that Casey is kind of there to stick up for Kevin because she understands him in a way, even though what he did to her, like
each of those characters are an advocate for the characters in the asylum.
Yeah. The idea that,
and even though he tried to kill Casey, he ultimately didn't.
Yeah.
Right? And so she cares for Kevin, not so much about the Horde.
Yeah.
But the man inside.
It's almost like a Betty and Hulk thing. Like Betty, Bruce Banner Hulk.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Without because there's very romance involved.
There's definitely more. But I'm thinking specifically in the Split when the Horde or the Beast himself, the main one, chooses not to kill her. Like it's the Beast that chooses not to kill her, which is why I'm thinking there's a little bit of the Hulk stuff in there in the sense that he recognizes her enough that he's like, you know what, no.
Yeah. It's very much like she wants to help Kevin, just like Betty wants to help Bruce. But you have to deal with the Horde. In order to do that, like she has to deal with the Hulk. So yeah, I can see that.
And they're all victims in some way. Less so Elijah. He's just kind of victim of circumstance. But the other two are definitely victims. And the idea that we shouldn't just hate Kevin because of what the Horde is, because it's not necessarily his fault. We should try to understand and help him. And I mean, you could almost argue there's an argument here for treating mentally ill people.
Yeah.
That,
that's what I was just going to get to. Is like. Unbroken is a great title because that's a word that gets thrown around as broken. Like if you're not okay, you're somehow broken. And I like what this suggests is like, no, that's what makes you unique and special. And yeah, you might have to get help, right? Like, but you're not broken.
Yeah, Casey's trying to show him compassion when everyone else is kind of ready to just throw him away. And it's the whole thing. And I mentioned Samuel L. Jackson being good and how he kind of fit right back out of the role. He's sort of pretending to be catatonic for a long time, and then he eventually reveals that he's not. He's been kind of faking it so that he can go around and do stuff. When he starts talking about things, he sounded like Price again. It was the way he was like he comes to see the Horde, and he's like some people say this, and he starts explaining the history of paintings or something like that, and I'm like, this sounds like him. This sounds like him. The exact same character. It was like a great return to form. And even though he does something awful and slits a guy's throat, you kind of fist pump when you realize that he tricked them with because they're doing this operation to basically just lobotomize him with a laser. And you think they've done it, but it turns out he stole a part of the machine before they could do it.
One of the lenses.
Yeah. So
the one thing that still makes him villainous is that had he killed the orderly that was being nasty to him, which that's fine. This guy's a mass murderer, and whatnot. But he kills the nice one. Yeah, the orderly that goes out of his way to be nice to him, And I'm just like, man, you get so close, Elijah. Like,
yeah. He kills the. He was a bit talky, but he was certainly not an awful guy.
No, because he showed him compassion. Like when he's out by the medicine cart, and the one guy Pierce, the other guard, is like, oh whatever, he's a menace, just whatever, and what was his name, Daryl, I want to say, wheels him back around. I was like, come on, buddy, let's get you back, and it's a little patronizing, but not worth getting your throat cut with glass. Yeah.
I do like it was a piece of glass just for thematic reasons.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
I do like too how they teased it going full superhero movie at a place called Osaka Tower, which that ought to be a shout out to Nakatomi, right?
Maybe, I don't know. Like I like the idea of them eventually getting to the tower, but it never does. I almost felt the budget a little bit there. It was like, we're teasing going to this big public new tower, and we never actually get there. We're just on the lawn of the hospital, and I'm like, okay, I feel the $20 million budget here a little bit. But that's okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that, so I didn't know if we were going to get to the tower or not.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But I like that it was going full superhero, and I was like, oh man, if this thing lights up and there's a light in the sky, Pete's gonna lose it.
I never worried about doing that, and obviously the other thing that makes Elijah Price an awful character, obviously, and we knew this from the previous films, is he is willing to murder hundreds of, if not thousands of people to make his point, right? So, like, he's a bad guy, certainly, but again, his message of like being this misunderstood person who just wants the world to believe that someone like him can exist is actually kind of like, I kind of like that. Because it's not just about him, it's about David, it's about the Horde. He wants everyone to know they exist. And he even accepts that, the Horde's going to find out that I killed his dad, but don't tell him yet, we're not at that point in the story.
Doesn't he yell spoiler? Or something along those lines?
It wasn't, I don't think it was spoiler, but it was something like that.
No. Yeah. So that was pretty great. But he's really good. I mean, the cast is really good too, from top to bottom. Sarah Paulson, that's her name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought she was really good as the Doctor. Like, there was something captivating about her to where, again, up until that stupid twist, everything was working. And I felt like her's like, well, no, superheroes don't exist. Guys, come on. Like, I'm trying to do my job here.
I mean, the thing is that maybe when I watch it again, maybe the twist will work better having seen the rest of it with the knowledge in mind. Yeah. But here's the thing, like, most of the good Shyamalan twists, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs even...
Yeah,
they actually do improve the movie on a second watch, but they don't necessarily feel like the first time viewing still has a good impact at the end when it's like, oh, I see how this adds to the themes that we were playing with. And this one kind of does, in the sense that it goes into the whole idea of them trying to keep it a secret, but Elijah wants the message to get out. It just feels too much. It feels like, because it kills all of our main characters. This group kills all of our main characters, and it's hard to really get behind this group. Who are just introduced, and I get thematically what it's doing, the idea that it's keeping them quiet, that the man, if you will, the government want to keep them quiet. They're not actually the government, but just that's kind of what they're representing. And but it just comes out of nowhere, and it feels a bit forced. And like we said, we don't really need it. The message at the end still works even without the secret organization.
Yep.
So
I almost feel like this is Shyamalan's like send up to Watchmen in that way. And even the fact that he calls David Dunn the overseer, and what's another word for overseer? Is a watchman, right? So I might just be piecing things together, but
Yeah, I think obviously it's more hopeful at the end than Watchmen as a story. I think it's maybe less cynical. It is more about being hopeful, and I think it is more about... I feel like Watchmen's a deconstruction of superheroes
why they're bad.
No, kind of strictly about superheroes. Whereas this is a
Yeah.
deconstruction of superheroes, but I think it's about the real world as well.
Humanity.
You know,
Gotcha.
it's about, you know, dealing, at least attempting to
Yeah.
tackle real issues at the same time. And I think it does actually do a reasonable job of that. It just has these other things that drag it down, which makes rating this extremely difficult because I am kind of mixed on it.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Sometimes when I'm mixed in a movie, I come out and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of mixed. I don't know how I feel. And it's this kind of like mundane thing when I'm in the middle. This is different where I'm really passionate about the things I like.
Yeah.
So it's hard to.
I'm with you because when I left, I came home and my wife and mother-in-law were here and they're like, how was it? And I was like, oh, don't get me started. And my mother-in-law goes, oh, I need to know now. And I told her, and this is definitely a movie that she would not like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so she's like, well, yeah, I kind of figured all that. And I was like, no, you didn't. Come on. But talking about it through with you, the parts that I liked even more.
Yeah.
But the parts that didn't work for me, definitely sit there. Like upon rewatch, I'm like, this didn't need to be 2 hours and 9 minutes. Like there's some fat you can cut, I think, throughout the.
I definitely want to watch it again at some point, and I am very curious to see how I feel about it in the end. I like, will it get better, or will it be a case of the things I like I'll like more, and the things I don't like I'll still dislike, but I'll just kind of get used to them being there.
Yeah.
Like, because I think ultimately it's worth seeing. If you're a fan of the first two movies, even though it's not a home run by any means, I do think it's worth seeing.
Yeah.
I think the good things are interesting enough that you should see it.
Yeah, I agree. If you do like if you've already seen the other two, then just make it the trifecta.
Yeah.
Just go see it because there's gonna be something that you're gonna like if you enjoyed those two in here. So, but yeah, I mean it's that twist was the most Shyamalan he's been in quite some time, I think. And I haven't seen The Happening, but I know that twist.
Well,
and that's very Shyamalan.
The fact is, though, there's a time when a Shyamalan twist was a good thing because the first few they had were really good, and then it went downhill.
Well, I would say the first two definitely. Signs a little bit. The Village definitely a whiff. That's where it started turning. Where like, dude, you're trying way too hard for these twists. Like, let the story come from
I definitely like some of The Village. I think I have to watch it again though. Because I haven't seen The Village since like 2005. So I mean, it's been a long time. But yeah, so yeah, we're gonna rate it then. What are you giving Glass?
So I think I'm a little bit lower on it than you are, but you always find a way to surprise me with ratings. But I give it a 6.5. Like it's definitely watchable. It's enjoyable, but it swings and misses a couple times.
Yeah, I'm really conflicted because,
as you've said numerous times.
Yeah, I don't think I've been this conflicted in a movie in a long time. I think I'm actually going to agree with the 6.5, and I'm going to sort of justify it by saying the things I really like, and are probably deserving of a higher score, but the other things drag it down. So my justification is, on my scale of ratings, I think of 8 being great, 9 being amazing, 10 being a favourite, 7 is being good. And I don't know if I can quite call this good, but there's enough stuff I like that is almost... If I could give this a 6.99...
Yeah, it almost gets there, but not quite.
Yeah, I probably would. So I'm going with a 6.5. I'll agree with that score. But it's probably the most passionate I've been about a 6.5 in my life. So, take that for what you will. Like, it's a conflicting film, so... but that is Glass. That has been our hopefully enjoyable discussion about Glass. Yeah. You can, of course, let us know what you think of the movie in the comments below. Like and subscribe. All that stuff supports us. As does, of course, go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support us financially for as little as $1 per month if you want to. You get some extras, you get some stuff, you get some voting rights, all that kind of thing. You can do that. You can also buy merchandise now, believe it or not. If you go down to the description, there'll be links to both the US and the UK store. Buy some merch if you like. Go for it. But that is pretty much us. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. Matt, where can people find you?
At Man of Steel 57.
You can find me at Wibble89. If you're watching the video, they're on the screen, so that's nice and easy. But yeah, so if you're on the audio feed, you're on Mail Fuzz Movies, which has the Jigowatts, the Influx, and the Overload shows. Do check out the other feeds we have as well. If you go to Patreon, we have like a list of all the feeds, all the shows we have, in the top post. I think the main one to recommend would be Screams After Midnight, which is horror movie discussions with myself and the one and only Professor Tim Vargulish. But That is us.
I love it.
But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we will see you next time.